Okay, so looking at this right here, we're going to jump more into our trig stuff today. So first of all, when we're labeling a triangle, there's going to be three distinct sides. So the first side we're always going to label is the hypotenuse. All right, first side we're going to label is the hypotenuse. Now, how do we know which side is the hypotenuse? Okay, first of all, it's the longest side, and then yeah, that little right angle mark points towards the hypotenuse. Okay, the hypotenuse is always the longest side of a right triangle, and then when you have a little right angle mark in there, it always points towards the hypotenuse. Okay, after we label the hypotenuse, what's the second side we always label? Okay, and it is the adjacent side. How do we know which side is the adjacent side? Okay, good. It's the one that touches the angle that we're dealing with. Okay, and then the third side that we're going to label is going to be the what? Good, the opposites. Now, how do we know which side is the opposite side? Okay, it's the side that does not touch the angle. It's the side that does not touch the angle. We're always going to label it in that order. We're always going to go from the hypotenuse to the adjacent to the opposite. If you'll label it in that order, it will help to eliminate confusion on several different things. So we're always going to do that. Hypotenuse, adjacent, then the opposite. So on this first one here, all we're doing is just labeling. Which of the three sides there is the hypotenuse? Okay, yep, it's this one right here. There's the hypotenuse. And again, you can tell you got this little right angle. It's pointing towards that hypotenuse. Okay, next, I'm always going to label the adjacent next. And I forgot to mention, so here's the angle we're talking about. It's got that Greek letter theta. That's just a variable for an angle. Which one is the adjacent here? Which one? Yeah, the one touching the angle. So this one right here is the adjacent. Again, because this side right here, you can see how this side is touching the angle. So then what does this side have to be? It's got to be the opposite side. Which, I mean, definitely is. It's on the opposite side of the triangle. And you can also tell how this side right here does not touch this angle at all. So this is the hypotenuse, this is the adjacent, and this is the opposite. All right, on this one here, this is the angle we're talking about. So which one is the hypotenuse here? Yeah, the longest one. It's the same one as the other one. That doesn't change. Okay, which one is the adjacent on this one? The bottom one. Because on this one now, this side is the side that's touching the angle. So then obviously that makes this one up here the opposite. And you can tell how this side right here does not touch this angle at all right here. Okay, so today we're going to get into all three functions. We've only been dealing with tangent for the last 2 days. We're going to get into all three of them today. So we've already been talking about tangent, and tangent is abbreviated like that with TAN. Now we're going to talk about sine, and sine is spelled like this, S-I-N-E, and we abbreviate it as just S-I-N. And then cosine is that word, and it's abbreviated like this with just a COS. I just wanted you to see the full word there: sine, cosine, and tangent. All right, so let's talk about what each one of these is. The sine function is the opposite over the hypotenuse. Sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. Okay, the cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And then the tangent, as we've already been talking about for the last couple of days, is the opposite over the adjacent. All right, now before we go, I just want to talk about this little box I put on here real quick. So on your calculator, we'll be using this little trig button right here next to the number 7. That's where we get to all of our functions on our TI Inspire. But the most important thing here is what I talk about here. You need to make sure that you're in degree mode. So on any calculator, you got to make sure you're in degree mode. But on the Inspire, for the way we're doing this, so you need to do that, you go docs 7.2, and you need to make sure the second line that says angle, that it's set to degree, not radian. If it's set to radian, you're going to get answers that are in radians, but they're not going to match up to anything we're talking about. So you got to make sure you're in degree mode. Okay, now, going back to this. The sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So how are we going to remember all of that? So let me show you the little mnemonic device we're going to use for that. So this right here is what we're going to use to remember what each function does. Now, everybody learns it this way pretty much, okay? I mean, this is the way I learned it in high school. Whenever I went to high school, I guarantee there's kids in Dallas, Texas that learn it like this. Guarantee there's kids in New York City who learn it like this, okay? This is just the way it's taught. Whenever I was in high school, I remember my geometry teacher teaching me this. He had some big, long story that he told. And I don't remember the story, but I do remember the punchline to the story is that it was Chief SOH CAH TOA. All right? SOH CAH TOA. So that's how we're going to remember the difference between the three functions. All right? Is SOH CAH TOA. Say it with me. SOH CAH TOA. All right? Now, I want you to write it like this. SOH CAH TOA. Write it down like that. SOH CAH TOA. Same thing, it just sets it up even better for what we're going to be doing. SOH CAH TOA. SOH CAH TOA. So what do you think the S stands for? Stands for sine. Yep. What do you think the C stands for? Cosine. And what do you think the T stands for? Yep, stands for tangent. All right, what does the O stand for, do you think? Opposite. The H? Hypotenuse, and the A? Adjacent. Yep, this is hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. Okay? So this right here is going to be the way to help us to know what function we're going to use. Now, it actually serves two purposes. Because number one, it'll tell us which function we're going to use in each one of the problems we're working on. But then the other purpose of it is it tells us how to set it up also. So if I decide within a problem I'm going to use the sine function, I will always put the opposite over the hypotenuse. Always. I'll never switch these, okay? Sine is always opposite over hypotenuse. If I decide I'm going to use cosine, I'll put the adjacent length over the hypotenuse length. If I decide I need tangent, I'll put the opposite length over the adjacent length. All right, so let's go ahead and flip it over and let's practice a little bit with what I'm talking about here. So first of all, let's write that again real quick. SOH CAH TOA. SOH CAH TOA. All right, SOH CAH TOA. Now notice on number 1, right here, it says find the tangent of angle Z. Okay? So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to go ahead and go down here to angle Z, and I'm going to shade in angle Z just so I'll keep up with the angle that I'm dealing with here. So you can see right here, angle Z, just shade in that angle. Now let's label it. And remember, I'm always going to label it in this order, H, A, O. Always do it in that order. So which side is the hypotenuse? 35. It's 35. Which one's the A? 28. Which one's the O? 21. Okay, good. Now let's go back and let's talk about how you know all that. So how did you know that this one is the hypotenuse? It's the longest side for sure. I mean, just when you look at the numbers, see this one's 35, it's longer than those. So based off of that, you know that's the hypotenuse. How else do you know that's the hypotenuse? Yep, little right angle right here is like pointing towards the hypotenuse for us. Okay, good. How did you know this side is the adjacent? Good, because this side, you can see, is the side that touches the angle. The side that's 28 is touching our angle Z right here. And then, how do you know this is the opposite? Because what? Okay, good. This side right here does not touch the angle at all. And also, after we label the H and A, this one has to be the O. It has to be the opposite. Okay? All right, now, this one is asking for the tangent. Okay? So tangent is TOA. Tangent is TOA. SOH CAH TOA. So what we're going to do is we're going to use those two. We're going to use the O and A, and we're going to put the O over A. So how long is the O, the opposite? Is 21. And how long is the A, the adjacent? 28. So our fraction here is 21 over 28. Now we could type that into our calculator and find out how big that angle is, but that's not what this is asking. All this is asking is for to do what we've already done right here. So we're not going to type any of this in our calculators right now. Okay? Let's look at number 2. So number 2 says cosine of angle C. So first of all, I'm going to shade in angle C. Right here it says cosine of angle C. So I'm shading in that angle to keep everything straight in my mind. Now let's label. Which one is the H, the hypotenuse? 34. Which one is the A? 16. And which one is the O? It's 30. Now this one, cosine CAH, is adjacent and hypotenuse. So what are those two numbers? 16 and 34. And again, I set it up the way that this is written. I'm always going to put the adjacent length on top, which in this case is the 16, and the hypotenuse length on bottom, which is 34. So this is going to equal 16 over 34. Okay, I did this kind of weird. I kind of put that up here. So we're going to go ahead and do this one. This is number 11. So this one says cosine of angle Z. So first thing I'm going to do is shade in angle Z. Cosine is CAH. Let's label this. Which one is the H? 15. Which one is the A? The 12. And the O is the 9. Now again, let me just say this real quick. This is the hypotenuse because it's the longest side, and also the arrow is pointing towards it. This side is the adjacent because it's the side that's touching the angle Z here. And this is the opposite because it's the side that does not touch angle Z. Now for cosine, it's A and H. So what's my fraction going to be on this one? 12 over 15. Yep, the A is 12, the H is 15, so 12 over 15. Okay, dropping down to number 3. This says the sine of angle C. So here's angle C. Which one's the H? 35. The A? And then the O? 28. Sine is SOH Opposite in hypotenuse. What's the fraction going to be here? Okay, good. 28 over 35. Okay, number 4, tangent of angle X. So I'm going to shade an angle X. What's the H? 40, the A, and then the O is 32. Now tangent is TOA. What's the fraction here? Yep, 32 over 24. Okay, the 3 down at the bottom are something different, so don't do those. But I want you to go ahead and do these other 4 that we haven't done yet. Do this 5, 6, 15, and 13. Try those 4. All right, so down here on number 5, cosine of A, here is the angle, HAO. Cosine is CAH, A over H, which is 30 over 34. Okay, number 6, sine of A. So now we're going down to this angle A down here. We have HAO. Sine is SOH. Opposite over hypotenuse, so 32 over 40. Okay, this is number 15, tangent of angle C. So here's C. HAO. Tangent is TOA. Opposite over adjacent, so this is 12 over 35. And then up here to this number 13, tangent of angle C. Here's H, here's A, here's O. Tangent is TOA. Opposite over adjacent is 40 over 30. Now, we could go in here and find out how big those angles are, just typing in with the little inverse. We'll talk a lot more about that tomorrow. But I just wanted you to see how these functions work here. Okay? All right, so let's drop down to the bottom here. And we did a little bit of this yesterday with tangent. We're going to use it obviously with all 3 functions today. So on this one, okay, here's the angle that I know, this 27-degree angle. So what we're going to do is we're going to label our sides like we've been doing. So which side is the H on this one? The blank one. So there's my H, the hypotenuse. Where's the A, the adjacent? 10. Good, because that's the side that's touching the angle, or the leg that's touching the angle. And then which one is the O? The X. Okay, now, as I look at this problem, obviously on a triangle there's 3 sides. There's one of those sides that I don't really care about. That's really not helping me anyway. I'm not looking for it, anything like that. So of those 3 sides up there, which side do you think we probably really don't care about on this problem? The which one? Yeah, the H, right? Because on the H, I don't know how long the hypotenuse is. I'm not looking for the length of the hypotenuse. So on this problem, I really don't care anything about the H. The A I care about because I know how long it is. So that's going to help me solve the problem. So I definitely care about this one. The opposite side over here is the side that I'm looking for. So I definitely care about that one also. It's this one that really doesn't help me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scribble that out and know that I'm not dealing with the H on this problem. I'm only dealing with the O and A on this one. All right, so SOH CAH TOA. SOH CAH TOA. So now I'm going to ask myself, okay, which of those 3 has O and A in it? Is which one? Yeah, it's the T, right? Because up here the S has O, but it doesn't have the A. The C has the A, but it doesn't have the O. The T is the only one that has O and A. So on this problem, since it's O and A, that tells me on this problem I'm going to use the T, the tangent function. Okay, so this is like what we did yesterday. I'm going to go tangent of 27 degrees equals okay, so now on the tangent TOA, I'm going to put the opposite on top. Every time, the opposite always goes on top. How long is the opposite?
X.
Is x. How long is the adjacent?
10.
Is 10. Now, if you remember from yesterday, when the x is on top, do we multiply or divide? We multiply, yes. So I'm going to go 10 times the 10 of 27 degrees. Okay, so we do 10 times the 10, was it 27? So 10 times 10 to 27, 5.095. That 5 is going to round that 9 up, and that's going to round that up to a 1. So we'll say 5.1. Okay. All right, so 5.1. All right, next one. So on this one, here's the angle I'm using. Okay, which one is the H? 7. Which one's the A? The X, and then which one's the O? The blank side. So which side do we probably not care about on this problem? Yeah, the opposite. There's nothing there. Like when we said it was blank, that pretty much lets us know, okay, that's probably the side that I'm not using on this one. There's nothing there. I'm not looking for it, so the O is out on this one. So now, A and H are what I'm using on this one. So as I look up there at my 3, SOH CAH TOA, which one has A and H? The C, which it means is what? Cosine. Good. So on this one, yes, I'm using my cosine function. This is CAH. So I'm going to go cosine of 39 equals, how long is the adjacent? X over how long is the hypotenuse? 7. Now since the X is on top, do I multiply or divide? I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to do 7 times the cosine of 39. And 7 times cosine of 39, what does that give you? Okay, it gives you 5.44, is that right? Okay. All right, then on this last one, okay, so here's the angle. Which one is the H? The X. Which one is the A? The blank, and which is the O? 8. So of those 3, which side do I probably not care about on this one? The A. That's the one that's out. There's nothing there. I don't know that side. I'm not looking for it. Nothing. The A's gone. So on this one, O and H. SOH CAH TOA. Which one has O and H? is the s, the sine. This is, so, sine function. Sine of 46 equals, okay, how long is the opposite? 8 over the hypotenuse, x. Now, this time the x is on bottom, so what am I going to do? I'm going to divide. I'm going to go 8 divided by the sine of 46. And what's that going to give you? Yep, 11.12. 12 hundredths.